A great app UI is one that minimizes the friction between a user and its functionality. An excellent way to reduce that friction is to highlight and showcase the parts of your app which are integral to its usability. This is particularly handy when a user launches your app for the first time or when you update the app with some new features. ShowCaseView is a customizable and simple to implement package you can use to show your users around the most important features of your Flutter app. Hello everyone and welcome to ResoCoder. Our goal here is to provide top-level education and teach you the skills needed to become an in-demand Flutter developer. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single video. Let's get started! First, let's take a look at the app we're going to build. When we restart our app, our showcase will start. The showcase will highlight predefined widgets in our app and display either a tooltip with a description, a tooltip with a title and a description, or a completely custom widget next to them. When we tap on the screen, we're taken from one widget to the next until there are no more widgets to be showcased. We can also hit this gear icon here to be taken to the settings page where we have yet another showcase. We can tap here to end it and go back to the home page. We can also start our showcase by hitting this help icon here. And there's one more thing we can do. When we're in the middle of the homepage showcase, we can hit this gear icon, run through this showcase, go back, and now our homepage showcase starts right from where we left off. In this tutorial, we're going to be working with a starter project. That way you don't have to worry about setting up any of the UI and can just focus on implementing the ShowCaseView package. However, let's still get familiar with the starter project so that we're not lost along the way. This is our starter app. It is a demo water tracking app that doesn't really have much functionality, and most things here are for visual purposes only. We've got an app bar with a title, a help button, and a settings button. We've got this visual water tracking interface and a floating action button. When we tap on the help button now, nothing happens, but we will implement functionality for it later on. We can, however, click on the settings button to be taken to the settings page where we've got a settings control widget and some text. We can also go back to the home page. Now let's see how this is all written in code. So we have our main.dart file where we've got the my app that returns a material app. Material app has a title and the home parameter has the homepage widget. Let's go to homepage.dart where we've got all our code for this homepage right here. It's got a scaffold, an app bar, an icon button for the help button, and an icon button for the settings button with the routing implemented. And we've also got our floating action button right here. In the body of the homepage, we have a center widget with a single child scroll view and a column. The column has the cups number display widget, which is this one right here, a sized box for spacing, and a cups goal widget, which is this widget right here. Now let's go check out the settings page. Go on over to settingspage.dart, and here you can see the settings page is a lot simpler. It's just got a scaffold, an app bar, and a column. Inside the column, we have the settings controls widget, which is this one right here, a sized box, and a text widget, which is this one right here. We also have a widgets.dart file where we've hidden all the intricacies of all of these widgets right here, like the settings control and the cups number display and the cups goal widgets. And you can go through this file and take a look at how all of the widgets are created, but really we won't be working with this, and we'll only be working with these three files right here. And be sure to check out the written tutorial from the link in the description where you can grab the starter project, and you can also find all the code written in this video and go through this lesson at your own pace. All right, let's get coding. So first, let's head over to pubspec.yaml and add the ShowCaseView package as a dependency. Let's add ShowCaseView. and we're going to be using version 1.1.0. And if you are watching this in the future, be mindful of any potential breaking changes. So let's save this and move on over to main.dart. So before we implement any of the individual showcase widgets like this one or this one, we need to implement another widget that's actually going to be responsible for creating, starting, finishing, and maintaining the entire showcase. That widget is called the Showcase Widget, and we're going to be returning our home page from it. So let's cut this home page. We're going to use it soon. And let's add the Showcase Widget. Oops. C is capital. Now, if you see this suggestion here, you can hit enter now and it will auto import the package for you. Otherwise, you can manually import it yourself. The Showcase widget has a required builder parameter, which takes in a builder widget that has its own builder parameter holding a builder function. This function is going to take in a context, and it's going to return whatever widget we tell it to, and in our case, it's going to be the home page. Let's add some commas and save. So for this tutorial, this is pretty much everything we're going to implement here. But Showcase Widget does have some optional parameters we can briefly take a look at. Some of these are on finish, on start, and on complete. You can pass functions to any of these, and the on finish function will run when the entire showcase finishes. The on start will run when the showcase starts, and on complete will run when individual showcase widgets complete. Meaning if you're on this widget now and then you tap, that one's been completed and you've moved on to the next. Tap again, now this one's completed. So every time that completion occurs, that's when that function will run. Now we also have an autoplay parameter right here, which by default is set to false. But if we set it to true, we don't actually have to tap through all of these widgets in the showcase. They will instead be displayed automatically. If you are setting the autoplay to true, you can also mess around with this autoplay delay right here, which by default is set to 2000 milliseconds. But you can change it to whatever you want, depending on how much time you want to pass between every widget transition. All right, we're pretty much all done here, so let's save it, close it up, and move on to the home page. Before we finally go ahead and implement the individual showcase widgets like this one, we're going to do one more thing, and that is for every widget in our showcase, we need to have an individual global key. We're going to use these global keys to communicate to this main showcase widget in our main.dart file which widgets in our homepage we want to be have as part of the showcase, and also in which order. So our homepage is going to have 3 widgets we want showcased, so let's create 3 global keys. We're going to say final, key 1, global key, and we can just copy this down and change 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Awesome. Now let's move on to making our first showcase widget. And first widget we want to be displayed is this settings icon right here. So let's go to the app bar, actions, and this is where a button is. Now we don't want the showcase to highlight the entire button itself. We only want it to be focused on this gear icon here. So we're going to wrap the icon with a widget. The widget is going to be showcase, and make sure to import the ShowCaseView package here as well. Now the showcase has a few required parameters. One of them is key. And here we're going to provide our key 1 that we just created, because this is the first widget we want displayed in the showcase. Also, we're required to provide a child, and we're doing that here already. And lastly, we need to provide a description. A description is this text that shows up in this animated tooltip right here. So let's do that. Description. Description takes a string, and our description is going to say, change your water intake goal settings. Let's save that. Now this is everything that's required. There are plenty of optional parameters you can take a look at. And although we won't get to all of them, you can go through these on your own time. So let's take a look at some of those optional parameters now. The first thing we're gonna do is we want to make sure that this highlighted shape over here is a circle. To do that, we can provide a value to the shape border property. And we're going to pass in circle border. Now we know it's going to be a circle. What we also want to do is we want to give a custom background color to this tooltip over here. And we can do that by specifying the showcase background color. We're going to give it a color of colors.indigo. Next, we can also stylize our text here a bit in the description by providing a text style to desk text style property. And we're going to give it a text style. And here we're going to pass in a font weight of 500. We're also going to give it a custom color of colors.white and a font size of 16. Awesome. So there are just two more things we're going to do here, and that is add some padding. First, we want to add some padding between this widget right here and this overlay right here. And we can do that by specifying the overlay padding. Overlay padding takes in an edge insets, and we're going to give it a value of 8. We can also add some padding around this text right here and any content inside this tooltip using content padding. And this also takes in an edge insets. We're going to give it a value of 20. Amazing. So we're all done here. Before we launch the app and see how it's doing, let's add just one more showcase. The next widget in our showcase is going to be this one right here, and that's located in the body. And it's the column wrapping these two widgets. So we can wrap this column in a showcase. And we're going to give it a key here as well. This time it's going to be key 2 because it's the second widget in our showcase. And we will provide a description here, but we also want to give this one a title. Title is optional, and it also takes in a string just like the description. Our title is going to say total and goal water intake. And let's give it a description as well. It's going to say track your total and goal water intake. Awesome. Now we're going to do something a little different here. If you take a look at the settings icon showcase, you can see right above this tooltip there's an arrow pointing at the widget we're displaying. And that arrow is there by default, but we can also remove it, just like you can see it's not present here. So to do that, we're going to set show arrow parameter to false. We're going to also add some overlay padding. Give it a value of 8. Make sure that we have this nice indigo color in the background of our tooltip. Using showcase background color again, colors.indigo. And here's something interesting. So if you remember in the first showcase, we specified quite a bit of text style to this description. Now, if you don't want to give these specifics and you don't need to get into the details of all this customization, you can instead provide only a text color if that's all you need. And that's going to make sure that both the description and the title are all that color that you provide. So to do that, there is a parameter called text color, And we could give it a colors of white since that's what we want our text to be. Awesome, so that saves us some time. And that is pretty much it for the second showcase. Now we can go ahead and launch the app. Let's go to our main.dart file and launch this app. Amazing, our app is up and running. And although it looks really great, nothing's actually happening still. Our showcase isn't running. Well, why is that? That is because we never actually told this showcase widget in our main.dart file when to start the showcase. And we're going to do just that right now. We're going to be exploring two ways of how you can start a showcase. One is going to be by tapping this button and the other one on page build. The on button tap is a little bit simpler, so let's do that first. Let's go to our scaffold, app bar, and deleting. This is the icon button that we're going to be using here. So let's add some code to the onPressed function. Because we want the page to rebuild, we're going to be using setState. And what we're going to do now is we actually need to access the Showcase widget right here and call its start showcase method. So to do that, let's say Showcase widget of context. And we need to add a bang operator here because of null safety. And we're going to say start showcase. Now, this start showcase method wants us to pass in a list of global keys. These global keys need to be in the order of which you want the widgets assigned to them to be displayed. So let's do just that. We're going to say key 1 first, key 2, and then key 3. Awesome. So that should be everything we need to get this up and running. So let's restart our app and tap on this help button here. And there you go. If you've done everything correctly up until this point, your showcase should start. And this is our first widget, second widget. And because we haven't implemented the third widget yet, the showcase just ends right after the second one, but we will implement it soon. Before that, let's implement the start on page build. To start our showcase on page build, we need to call the start showcase method from inside init state of our home page. So let's add init state, delete that. And additionally, we can't just call it the way it is here. And that is because of the way the build executes. So what we actually need to do is we need to place this method call inside the add post frame callback of the widgets binding instance. To show you what I mean, let's go ahead and type this widgets binding dot instance. We need to add a bang operator here. Dot add post frame callback. We don't need to use this timestamp here, so let's just leave an underscore there. And now here, we can actually register this callback and add our method call here. So let's just copy this over, add this in here. Don't forget your semicolons and add some commas for styling. There you go. Okay, that should be everything we need to get this started on page build. So let's restart our app. And there you go. The showcase starts instantly. We can tap through it. Now we can also tap this button and it'll start up again. And we're all set here. Now we can go ahead and implement our third showcase widget. So we want our third showcase to be highlighting our floating action button. So let's head over to that. And this time, instead of displaying the generic tooltip, we want to actually have a custom widget next to our floating action button. So let's wrap our floating action button with a widget and type in showcase. But this time we're going to use a named constructor here called with widget. And this named constructor will allow us to add any widget we want next to our showcased widget. So we're going to need to add a key here. It's going to be key 3. We also have the required height and width parameters. We're going to give it a height of 50 and a width of 50. Depending on which widgets you're adding, you can play around with this height and width it will alter where your showcase widget is placed and how it looks. So make sure to get exactly what you want out of this. For us, 50 works just fine. Now, there's also a container parameter, and this can take in any widget really. So you can get creative, but we're just going to add an icon to keep it simple. Icon, icons.local drink. This adds an icon of a cup. We're going to give our icon a size of 50 and a color of colors dot blue with a shade of 200. Awesome. So we just saved this page and our app hot restarted. You can see that this looks a little wonky, and that's because our showcase that we ran previously didn't actually finish. It was still on the third key here, and it looks a little wonky, that's just the way it is. So we need to restart the app and it will look all right. So let's go through this now, and as you can see, it's all fixed. Now we do want this to be a circle, so we are going to provide a shape border, a circle border, and now save this. Now the circle is actually there, it's just perfectly wrapping around this floating action button. So we're going to want to give an overlay padding of edge insets dot all and give it a value of 8. Now that looks much better. And that is actually pretty much all we're going to set up here for now. So let's take a look at this once more. First showcase widget, second showcase widget, third showcase widget. Excellent. Now, if you remember in our finished app, when we would click on this, it would actually take us to the settings page, but now it just skips over to the next showcase widget. So we're going to implement that functionality next. To be taken to the settings page, when we're in the middle of our showcase and we tap here, we need to specify another parameter on our showcase widget. So let's head over to where we have our settings button. And here it is. This is our first showcase. And the showcase widget has a on target click parameter you can set. And here you can provide any function you want. In our case, we're going to ask to be routed to the settings page. So let's set that up now. On target click is going to be a function. Here we're going to call navigator dot push context, and we're going to have a material page route here. 1 second, material page route. And we don't need anything here. And this will return our settings page. Amazing. Let's add a semicolon and some commas. Well, we saved the app and it hot reloaded. However, as you can see, we've got this big red screen here now with an error. And that is because when we set the on target click parameter, we also need to specify dispose on tap. Dispose on tap takes in a Boolean value, and if it is set to false, then the current showcase you're running is not disposed of when you tap on the individual showcase widget. If it's set to true, it is disposed of and it essentially finishes. So let's set it to false first to see why, in our case, it actually benefits us to set it to true. So let's save this again. And now when we click on our settings button, we are taken to the settings page, but the showcase from the previous page is still running, and that is definitely not something we want. And this is precisely because it does not get disposed of since we set dispose on tap to false. So let's set it to true now. Save this again, restart our app, tap on the settings button, and this takes us to the settings page, no problem. Now we're gonna work on setting up the showcase for the settings page. So let's go over to our settings page.dart file. Here we go. And because this is going to essentially be a brand new showcase, we need to create this showcase widget there. So let's go back to the settings page. And this showcase widget is going to be returning the entire content of this page. So let's cut that now to make it easy. And now our build method of the settings page is going to be returning the showcase widget. And again, make sure to import the ShowCaseView package. The builder here, if you remember, takes in a builder widget, which has its own builder parameter and a builder function. And here we need a context. And this will return this entire content. Let's save that. Actually, let's add one more. There we go. Let's add a couple more commas. Okay, now it's formatted nicely. Since we're only going to have one individual showcase widget just for this widget right here, we can create a global key for it now. So let's do that above the build method. Final key1 equals global key. Awesome. This showcase is going to start on page build, similar to how we had it in the home page, but with one difference. So here we have our showcase widget in the build method of our settings page. And in order to call the start showcase method on it, we actually need to access the build context of this showcase widget right here. So how are we going to do that? First, we're going to create a nullable variable called myContext, and it's going to be a build context. And for this to contain the build context of our showcase widget, we are going to populate this inside the builder function of our showcase widget. So we're actually going to want to make this into a block body. And now right above the return statement, we can say set my context to context. So this context right here. And now we can go ahead and call the start showcase method inside our init state, just like we did in the home page. Okay, so let's say init state, delete this. And here, just like in the home page, we're gonna have to put that function call inside of our add post frame callback of the widgets binding. So let's do that. Widgets binding dot instance, and don't forget the bang operator. Add post frame callback. Once again, we don't need this timestamp. And now let's access the showcase widget dot of. And now here, we're not going to access the context. We're instead going to use our myContext variable. And it won't be null, but Dart doesn't know that, so we have to make sure we insert this bang operator here as well. And one more here. And now we can call start showcase. And here we only have one key, so we're going to pass that key into this list. Amazing. And that is it. Now we can actually go ahead and implement our showcase widget for this widget right here. So let's go down, and we've got our column, and the column contains this settings control widget as well as this text. We only want our showcase to highlight this control. So let's wrap our settings controls with a showcase. We're going to give it a key of key1. It's going to have a title. Change your water intake goal. Oops. title. And a description that's going to say increase or decrease the number of cups for your goal. So just to specify how our theoretical app would behave. We also want our showcase to have a custom tooltip background color. So showcase background color, again, colors.indigo. And we want it to have a text color of colors.white. And that is pretty much it. We can add another comma here. And that is it for this showcase. So let's restart our app. And now when we go to the settings page, our showcase on the settings page starts on page build as well. Amazing. Now this is pretty much all done, you could say, but we could make this a little bit better by adding just a few modifications to make things run a little bit smoother. If you remember in our finished app, when we had the showcase running and then we would tap on the settings icon, we'll be taken to the settings page, finish the showcase, and then when we would go back, the showcase on our home page that we just left from would continue on from the second widget. That's one thing we're going to implement. And another thing is, and watch this carefully, when we tap on the settings icon, and this takes us to the settings page, the routing animation is still going on while the showcase is getting displayed, which looks a little bit odd. And let's see it again, just to pay attention this time. Oh, there you go. See, the page slides and it just doesn't look exactly great. And this is something we can fix, and it's something we will fix shortly. But first, let's go ahead and implement the continuation. To do this, we need to go to our home page and go to the first Showcase widget and just add some more code to the on target click. Now, the navigator.push, as you can see, returns a future, which means we can use .then to register a callback. And we'll make this into a block body. We don't need this value here, so you can just put an underscore. And from in here, we can now call setState. And from inside this setState, we can call the startShowcase function. So let's do just that. Let's say we need to access this showcase in our main.dart file again. So showcase widget .of context, and don't forget the bang operator, and start showcase. Now here into this list, we're only going to pass in the widgets after the one that we already played, which would be the settings button. So let's only add the key 2 and key 3 here. Save that. And let's give this a run. So let's hit on the settings icon. Now we've gone through this showcase, and now when we go back, the showcase starts right from the second widget. So this is pretty easy. Essentially, when we're routed back, we set the state and the showcase just starts right from the second widget and so on. Amazing. Now let's work on improving the animation on page route. So let's head over to our settings page. And essentially all we're going to do, first let's go up to our init state. Essentially all we're going to do is we're going to delay the firing of this function so that it gives us enough time for the routing animation to finish. And to do that, let's cut this. We're going to use a future.delayed, and we're going to give it a duration of 400 milliseconds, which should be enough. Lastly, we're going to register a callback here. And in here, we're going to call this function. Let's add a semicolon. And that is pretty much it. So let's take a look and see how this goes. Let's click here on the settings button. And did you see that? the routing animation finishes, and then our showcase starts, which in my opinion looks a whole lot better. We are finally all done with our app, and we have fully implemented the ShowCaseView package. Hopefully you've learned a lot here today and are ready to use this in your own projects. To go through this tutorial at your own pace once again, and to get all the code, check out the written tutorial available from the link in the description. And if you are serious about becoming a great Flutter developer who can build real apps for clients or at a job, go to flutter.education to get the top curated Flutter news and resources aimed at improving your app development career. Over there, you can also subscribe to the mailing list to get the best Flutter resources delivered weekly right into your inbox. And if you don't want to miss more tutorials like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel and also join the notification squad by hitting the bell button to make sure you grow your Flutter skills, because here at ResoCoder, we're determined to provide you with the best tutorials and resources so that you will become an in-demand Flutter developer. Like the video if it helped you, leave a comment, and we'll see you in the next one.